turning pages, night turning days. I'm tired of waiting. I gotta make it.
I do disagree though with the. I think you disagree with it too. It's just what people are saying about Collin Sexton and Bradley Beal. I don't think Sexton will seek the heights of what Bradley Beal is. I just don't know if he'll ever get there. And I also still think Sexton isn't right for the Cavs. So I don't know if he necessarily makes a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, he could definitely help out being a good shot creator. I would still look to trade him, but I mean, I would probably look to trade him now considering his offers are so much better than what they were previously. But it's such a tough one. Really, if you ask me, though, I think if we do what we think and add Montrezl Harrell, Ricky Rubio, and Terrence Ross, I think we're potentially making the playoffs. You lost your camera.
I know. I was trying to look up some as you were saying that. But, yeah, I would even – and I know you still don't see my face. But I do know I do understand that that you might not feel like Collin Sexton may reach the heights as Bradley Beal. But my contest to that a little bit, I would say, is the fact that I'm back. But the fact of that Bradley Beal himself wasn't Bradley Beal for several years with John Wall either, if you want to be really technical. And I do know it is some slight differences, which is why I left. I wanted to look at some stats. Because if you look at the stats, right, if you look at the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you look at the first 6 years, Bradley Beal wasn't really Bradley Beal yet. It wasn't until that six. Well, if you want to be technical, that 5th and 6th year where he started really averaging 20 points, and then after that 6th year, that's when he was averaging 30. And Collin Sexton, if you want to really be technical, Collin Sexton has already surpassed that scoring wise. Because I mean, Bradley Beal, if you take away scoring, what else does Bradley Beal brings to games?
I think he's a much better defender than what Sexton is. I think he is. I think his shot creation and when he knows to shoot is so much better. And I don't think he hurts the ball movement as much as what Sexton does. And I think Bradley Beal has always been better at that than what Sexton has been. Even when Beal was younger, I don't think he hurt John Wall as a player. And someone said this the other day in one of the Instagram comments, Garland is a much better player than with himself and someone else at the two than what he is with Collin Sexton. But I don't think John Wall was completely necessarily a much better play without Bradley Beal. I think they've really worked off each other, and that's why they were able to make the playoffs those couple times. I don't think Sexton and Garland work off each other that well.
The only reason I contest to that is because I feel like it's because who was actually the star first. I think in the instance of Washington, I think it was more successful. I think it was more successful for John Wall, mainly because John Wall was there first. He was more seasoned first, right? And him as a playmaking point guard, I think it was easier for him to let Bradley Beal eat because he already, once he was established, he knew he was going to get his. He knew he was the franchise player at that time of Washington. So it was easier for him to transition and say, hey, Bradley Beal, I'm going to give you the ball. Just play like you, right? So it made it easier for a Bradley Beal to really be Bradley Beal. But if you put it in context, Bradley Beal wasn't Bradley Beal until John Wall left. But the team wasn't that good, though.
True.
While you look at it on the flip side of Darius Garland to Collin Sexton got there first. And it's hard for a score for his guard to just, once he get a playmaking guard to like kind of be passive when it's in his nature to be the total opposite of that. And I think the reason why Darius Garland excelled is because when you took a lot of that ball handling off of Collin Sexton because he wasn't there, now that forced Darius Garland to be the point guard he was. That John Wall, even though he can shoot way better than John Wall, even though that's my favorite, John Wall's my favorite player, favorite point guard, I think it made a difference. So now I think this fourth season for Collin, third season for Darius Garland, I actually think it's going to be a different play style for them. Mainly because I think Collin Sexton seeing that what Collin was doing, he's not going to necessarily have to do that. Like, he doesn't have to dribble the ball for 20 seconds anymore. Because what the Cleveland Cavaliers did, literally you would see every game another player would have a high. Like, one person have 20, then the next person have 20, this person might have 15. You know, like, it was always somebody different, right? And with them being so close to making it to the playoffs, I think Collin Sexton, I think they showed Collin Sexton he didn't have to be this type of guy at the right time. With him being so young.
Your perspective on Sexton's like completely changed. Because I remember you a couple months ago were really, you wanted him traded.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've completely changed. I don't like that really. You've left me
I know.
on myself. Why would you do that?
Because I mean, I still think because don't get me wrong. When I watched Collin Sexton play, it was games, undoubtedly. Collin Sexton, his decision making was terrible.
So you think he will grow into maturity-wise? You think he'll learn to move the ball? Because I don't know, some players just never learn. Dennis Schroeder being one of them, Jordan Clarkson being another. They don't learn, and I think Sexton might have the same mentality as those guys.
The only reason I don't think he's going to have the same mentality as those guys is because of the position he is on the team. Arguably.
Like, Dennis, he's more of like an all-star.
Yeah, like that, and the fact that I think he has a lot more. I think the Cavs organization respects him a lot more than the organization respected Dennis Schroeder and Jordan Clarkson at the time they was prevalent on those teams. Like, I don't think the Lakers was never completely sold on Jordan Clarkson when he was the guy, when they didn't have anybody. They was still focused on getting stars. So they knew he was a time. He was a Laker, and he was the only thing popping on the Lakers, but they knew that wasn't their end goal. So he knew it was a ticking time bomb. While Dennis Schroeder was worried about being a starter. And Jeff Teague at that time was taking a lot of the minutes, and then by the time Dennis Schroeder kind of got those minutes after they traded Teague, it was a little too late because then they didn't want to pay him either because they didn't really feel like he was a legitimate starting caliber guard. And Dennis Schroeder wasn't appreciating it because he felt like he was the star. He was the successor, and I don't think Collin Sexton is in that situation. I feel like Collin Sexton is actually in a better situation. Because the Cavs sincerely loves Collin Sexton to a degree, even when we knew that Collin Sexton may be the problem, they still was never going to say Collin Sexton was the problem because he was just like their child. Like they wasn't, and I think this is where Collin Sexton has the edge over Jordan Clarkson and a Schroeder. Because he understands, one, he got the team behind him. And two, he understands as a competitor, if I really want to win after what I just seen, I have to change because I'm telling you, CHB, and this is why my tune has changed. This is really why. I know Collin Sexton he's smart. So he understands next season, if the Cavs performs worse,
he's getting traded. Yeah.
He's getting traded. He's getting all the slander. And the once loved child of Cleveland is going to flip so significantly because it would be no other doubt in their mind that Collin Sexton truly was the cancer. And Collin Sexton being that competitor, he's not going to let that happen. I promise you.
So he gets re-signed That's what you're saying. Collin Sexton gets re-signed to the Cavs.
He get re-signed, but this season, let the Cavs perform worse. Yeah. It's going to be a 1-year policy, and I promise you that trade deadline, if they're performing worse, if they're on pace to perform worse, I promise you it's going to be all talks about Collin Sexton getting traded.
That's Atlantis with that money.